All right, Coach Pendleton, Oregon State head coach. Man, you've been here, what, this will be your third year?
No, I just finished up my first year.
You finished up your first year.
Yeah.
I'm giving you way too much credit because you've done a lot.
Pandemic made things that seem a little longer than it is.
Yeah, and you've done exactly. So it made us all age a little bit more. So it threw my game off a little bit. But I guess what the reason I'm asking is you were a hot commodity, being a head coach all over these places for like the last decade. It seems like, the last 6, 7 years, 5 years, whatever. Pendleton's the guy. Pendleton's the guy. He's the guy we want. He's the guy we want. You end up at Oregon State.
I had been linked with a lot of different jobs, but I'm not a big mover. I kind of set my roots in and knew that for me to take my first head coaching job, it would always be somewhere that I really, really believed that I could have success, that I had a athletic department that was kind of in line with what I was envisioning for the program, have the support of the community, the donors, the alumni base, everything. And Oregon State really just started checking all the names off the boxes, and it was something that when the job opened up, and actually even before that, I mean, it was almost, not want to date myself, but almost 1999 when I came out here and we used to wrestle Oregon State and the University of Oregon. I was always like, you know what, that's a place I could be. I don't know, maybe it's the colors, maybe it's the initials or something, but I've always been partial to OSU.
So you mentioned athletic support. That's huge, right, from the department, especially in a world where wrestling programs are getting cut.
Yes.
Fresno State, we just saw what happened with Stanford. Luckily, thankfully, they're back online. Mm-hmm. So athletic support is big. Facilities are big. Beautiful facility here. Talk a little bit about what you got to offer.
It all starts, attitude's always a reflection of leadership, and Scott Barnes is the leader of our program, and he comes in and he makes us all feel valued and welcome from every sport, revenue, non-revenue. He's always talking about growing and, more importantly, the holistic development of the student athlete. What are we doing for them outside of the room to get them prepared for life? And that was something that resonated with me. A sad part of sports, if you look at, NFL, NBA, and even wrestling. Wrestling, I know Olympic champions that don't have the best lives right now. I know retired NFL players that are broke, NBA players that have substance abuse issues. I mean, I could go on and on because all they did was value winning on repeat. What are we gonna do? Because, when you have 35 athletes on a team, and we're big, I've seen the pro sports model where we're putting our resources into these athletes, but, you have 35 athletes. How are you servicing all of them? And at the end of the day, when you have 35 athletes, their athletic window for wrestling is actually really small. It's 5 years. Some might go on to chase Olympic dreams. Some might go on to chase the greater glory, all that, get into coaching, who knows? But how are we servicing everybody and getting them prepared for that next step in the role? Being a new father kind of made me start reevaluating things, where usually when you have kids that are in Division I programs, the parents have done a fantastic job getting them ready, and they're literally handing you their bundles of joy. Sometimes little secrets, or there's some things they don't tell you in the recruiting process. They're like, yeah, you forgot to mention that one. But for the most part, really successful kids, and this is their last step before they move on with their lives and have real world problems.
Yeah. I mean, the handing off, being a wrestling dad myself and going through all that, you trust, there's a certain amount of trust that you have to put in your coaches. And I subscribe to that it takes a village kind of thing, right? So there's only so much that I could do as a dad. So talk to me about what you're looking for as a recruit to come here at Oregon State.
Our character is the biggest thing. We always kind of stress that it's not the best kid, it's always going to be the right kid. Even this past year, some of my favorite kids on the team to work with was maybe not the best record-wise. I had a kid, Colton Beasley. Previous year, he was 2-14, I think, and this year he was about a 500 wrestler. But man, the guy's energy and his attitude every single day got me excited to come in and help him and get to work with him. Kids that are highly motivated, and I don't really believe that you can only be motivated in one area of life. Before the pandemic, I'm watching the NCAA finals, and one of the things I always pay attention to when I watch the finals is the finalists' GPAs. and you just kind of always hear, 3.3, 3.5, 4.0. You got this kid that's in the Ivy League. I have, Stanford, Shane Griffin winning a national title. When I was at ASU, Zahid Valencia, 4.0, got Student Athlete of the Year. I want the well-rounded individual. I want the people that are striving to be great in all areas of life, because especially now being a head coach, I find out that time management is even more crucial for me. So anytime I got to take time away for a little problem, and I'm always happy, and I drop anything and everything for my student athletes outside of my family, I want to drop it for the right reasons. I want somebody coming to my office saying, Coach, I need help with this. Let's go figure this out. I don't want somebody coming to my office that's saying, well, I missed 3 study halls, I missed my tutor appointment, those kind of small problems, they happen, but there's not something that we look for. So our general thing is character first, academic success, then athletic success.
You mentioned Arizona State. You spent a few years there, obviously. What's the difference? What's the biggest difference? Now you're driving the bus. You're the captain. You're the head coach. What are you seeing that's different than all of the experience that you had as an assistant coach?
I think for every assistant coach, you always say, well, this is how I want to do things or how it should be done. And now I have the opportunity to do that. And I am a big believer that attitude is a reflection of leadership. What I value, the kids value. What I turn a blind eye to will fester. And we are very cognizant as a staff to make sure that they understand exactly what we value. This year alone, we went from having the lowest GPA on campus to the highest that the program's ever recorded. We had 0 disciplinary issues. And this is all happening in one of the craziest years in athletics. Yeah. And, lastly, we had good success on the mat. We got better. I've been a part of a couple rebuilds, and I know, getting a number 1 recruiting class doesn't correlate to success directly. I've had some pretty dang good recruits that haven't panned out. So while we're building this, we kind of vision it as building a house. I could come in and get a number 1 recruiting class and, slap all this stuff on it. But if the foundation's shaky, the house will always be shaky. So that's where we talked about what are we valuing, what are we bringing, who are we bringing in, and what do they believe in.
Switch gears to the Dam RTC. I love that name, man. The
Beaver Dam. The Beaver Dam.
Yeah. It's out there.
Dam, I know.
It's great. It's a good marketing
I just
pitch.
thought about being at the U.S. Opening here and somebody say the dam.
I get it. You've got to portray it.
The kids love it.
The kids love it.
I was thinking about myself being at a tournament and hearing that over and over.
So you got Isaiah, right? Mm-hmm. And you know what? A lot of women wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of places, RTCs, aren't necessarily supporting like you are here, especially in the numbers. Talk to me a little bit about the RTC, how you're looking for support there, what you might be looking for, and then some of the athletes that you have.
Well, first, just the inclusion aspect of the RTC. From my time at ASU, getting to work with women like Kelsey Campbell, Victoria Anthony, Marley, Arian Carpio, Jess Medina, Clarissa Chun. I mean, you kind of work with a little bit of the who's who in women's athletics, and it kind of brought me into that fold where I started going to national team camps, being a part of it, and it's one of the greatest experiences of my coaching career. It really made me elevate how I was approaching coaching. Before, the biggest part was communication. Just kind of coming in, being able to articulate what the plan is, what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish to the senior level women athletes, rather than maybe the college athletes where they're kind of under your thumb a little bit, where just walk in, hey, warm up, we're just going, and never having to kind of explain the practice plan. So I think it made me put a lot more thought into everything, and I really think it helped my communication skills on relating to people, and I would recommend it to any young coach. And as far as just working with the women athletes, they have such a sense of gratitude and enjoyment in what they do that sometimes it gets a little bit lost, especially with, seeing the name, likeness, and image, and everybody's building the brand and doing all that kind of stuff, which is great. But just being able to come in for the love of the sport. I really kind of coming in for the love of the sport. And one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to have an inclusive RTC. So how we kind of came about it with Nate having his duties as in Greco-Roman and women's wrestling was that was kind of our first step. Obviously Isaiah and his career is our second step, and we will eventually be having more and more men joining the program. But one of the things that you can see nationwide on, and this is kind of a little bit of the recruiting aspect with kids, is RTC athletes are coming and going. It's a new time with the RTCs. Basically, it's a free agency now. You're starting to see people get locked into 4 or 5 year contracts with RTC athletes. I really get wary on telling kids, like, don't go to a program strictly for an RTC athlete. Go there for something that's established, that you know is going to be there for 4 or 5, 6 years. Because we could break the bank and try to spend that money and bring in a hot shot guy. But what we're doing with our fundraising efforts is we're trying to establish that base, just like we're doing with our college level. What are we doing to build up to be a sustainable thing where we're trying to just work with corporate sponsorships, work with within our alumni base, work with our donor base, being proactive, getting out there. So I'm excited about where the progress of the RTC is going.
Well, I think you've got fans with just a catchy name, right? But also fans of you that have followed your career. Now happy that you're a head coach, looking at the wonderful things that you're doing out here in Corvallis, and then you know, all of these inclusionary. I mean, you just hit it, right? So there's so many places that don't understand what they're missing.
I think we're getting over that hurdle every single month. I look at people like Emma Randall and Sally Roberts Wrestle Like the Girl and the Beat the Streets, and what Kim Martori with Sunkissed Kids, and the whole Titan Mercury organization's doing about promoting and growing women's wrestling. Kind of let a cat out of the bag on our Wrestling Nebraska. I want to say February 20th, and we're actually going to have a Wrestle Like a Girl night. We're really looking to help grow women's wrestling in the Pacific Northwest. People don't realize that it was actually not started here, but it grew fast here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pioneers that came out of the Pacific Northwest for women's wrestling, and we just want to give a chance to honor them and let young women around the community just see it. One of the things that we're looking at doing is obviously starting programs are really tough, and there's a lot more that goes into it, but we're looking at starting a women's club program. So any young woman that sees this interview, email us. Would love to have you come in and join our club team.
Well, that's music to my ears. I mean, I got a little niche in Central Ohio, especially with the younger to high schoolers, right? We're trying to sanction that state with girls wrestling. But I tell you, every coach I talk to, from NCAA champs in you to high school coaches, say it will make you a better coach. You just said that, they'll say that, and then as I watch from the sidelines doing what I'm doing, it makes me a better wrestling fan, right? It's just a different style, and if you're not doing it, you've got to do it. You're missing out.
Hey, I smile because wrestling is the ultimate inclusion sport. It doesn't matter boy or girl. You leave 2 5-year-old kids in a room and turn your head away for 15 minutes, they're going to end up wrestling. So let's be a sport that drives inclusion. Let's be a sport that kind of sheds stigmas and get out there and get everybody involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, I appreciate that. That's great. That's not a tangent I didn't know we were going to go off on, but man, that's fantastic stuff, especially for Sally Roberts, Wrestle Like a Girl, that kind of thing. So before I leave you, got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
No problem.